Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of my weekly NFL picks. We have finally made it to week 16. Season's coming to a close very soon, but we still got picks to do, so let's get into it. And as always, we have to look back at how we did in the previous week, and we've been, kind of here as of late. We've been down here this season, we've been up here this season, but now we've kind of hit this 500 mark, and I don't really like it over the last couple of weeks. And week 15 was exactly the same. 8-8 on the week. Got saved by Pittsburgh, absolutely destroying Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. Definitely a week I'm all right with. I'm not very proud of. There's some games in here that I wish, probably could have gone the other way. I mean, Carolina, that game definitely could have gone either way in the end. And I just hope that this week is a bit different. I hope we don't get 8-8 this week. So let's get into it here for week 16. And we start on the West Coast on Thursday Night Football in Seattle, where the Seahawks are taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The big thing for this game is Davante Adams going to play? There's a bit of a question mark right there right now. And to be honest, I don't think he will, although the Rams are saying that they're leaving all options open for him to play in this game. I feel like this is going to be a late call from them. I feel like that's when they're going to make the call, is very late before the game, or their last chance to let us know. But other than that, I feel like even if Davante Adams is in the game or not, the Rams still have the upper hand in this game. Yes, the Seahawks have had a pretty strong defense this season, and their offense has been very good as well. I just think that considering how the Rams have been playing this season overall with and without Davante Adams, even when they didn't have Puka Nacua for a couple of games, they are still just a very, very strong team. And for that, I'm going to take them to beat the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. And then we go to Saturday. Yes, Saturday football. Surprisingly, I was very shocked to see this on the schedule, but we got some Saturday football, and we start with Philadelphia taking on the Washington Commanders. And Philly got that big win last week over the Raiders, as I predicted they would do. This is kind of part two to what happened last week. I guess they played very well, against the Raiders. I expect them to do very similar this week against the Commanders, who have just had an awful season, just, bugged with injuries and what have not. It's been such a tough year for them, and this game is going to get even tougher. And then for the Eagles, I think it's pretty straightforward for them. Basically almost the same game plan as last week against the Raiders. So I'm taking the Eagles to beat the Commanders. And then we have a second game on Saturday, and this one is a very, very big one. It is the Green Bay Packers in Chicago taking on the Bears. Now, the big thing for this game is no more Micah Parsons. Of course, he had that season-ending injury just last week. Terrible, terrible news for the Packers, who are trying to get into a playoff position and stay there and make the playoffs. On the other side, the Bears have been playing very, very well as of late. Not superstar football like we're seeing the Rams play and whatnot, but they're playing good, solid football, and they are able to win some games. And with the lighter defensive load for the Packers this week, I feel like this has gotten even better for the Bears in this case. They're at home. They're playing a bit of a weaker Packers defense. The Packers, on the other hand, a bit banged up. Christian Watson as well is injured for the Packers. So I feel like this is going to be a very interesting one for sure. But to be honest with you, I'm actually going to take the Bears on this. I feel like them being home, knowing that they won't have to face Micah Parsons, I feel like that'll be a big boost for them. And so I'm going to take the Bears to win on Saturday night. And then we go to Sunday, and we start with another big one, and it's between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys surprised me last week with that loss over the Vikings. And they're now going up against another tough defense in the Chargers, who played very well last week against the Chiefs. The big thing for the Chargers in this game is getting to Dallas's defense. Now, Dallas's defense had a good middle bit of this season, and now last week they didn't do so well against the Vikings. So that is really important for them to get to them and get some points early on the board, and then let your defense handle the rest, because overall right now the Chargers have been playing very, very well. And for the Cowboys, you're just hoping they have a big shot, play here or there, because overall the Chargers defense hasn't given up a whole lot this season. It's a whole lot of big plays, and the Cowboys offense is kind of really built off of big plays. And for this week, I'm actually going to go with my team this week, the Chargers, because I've gone against them the last couple of weeks. They have won, so if they lose this week, it's on me. But I'm taking the Chargers to beat the Cowboys. Next up, we head to New York, where the Giants are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy is kind of getting something going now. I feel like he's a lot more comfortable over the last couple of weeks in the quarterback position. He's got a bit more used to it. And the last couple of weeks, the Vikings have played very, very well. And offensively, they've done well as well. Look at against the Cowboys last week. This is going to be a big game for them. Obviously, they're going up against a weaker defense in the Giants, so that's really, really good for them. And for the Giants and Jackson Dart, they're going up against a very tough defense in the Vikings. So how are they going to manage that? How are they going to play against that Viking defense? And are they going to be able to keep up with this Viking offense that seems to be on a high over the last couple of weeks? But to be honest, I don't think they will be able to do that. So I kind of have to go with the Vikings here to beat the Giants. And then we head down south to Miami, where the Dolphins are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. There is no Tua. They have benched Tua for Quinn Ewers. Yes, Quinn Ewers will be getting the start this week against the Bengals, whose defense, we've already spoken about them many times this year. So it's maybe a bit of an easier opponent to go up against, considering some other teams in this league. But we'll see how he does. We really will see how he does. I'm very interested to see how he does, considering what his success he was in college football. And for the Bengals, I mean, that loss last week that they had, you know, Joe Burrow spoke, you know, terribly, like, after the game. He was like, he's almost like he had no interest in playing the game anymore. So we'll see how he bounces back, especially against the Miami's defense that has been so-so this season, and especially looking last week against the Steelers. They did not perform all that well until, well, the fourth quarter when the game was out of hand. But nonetheless, I know Quinn Ewers is a strong young arm, but I just don't think he'll be able to put up, you know, what the Bengals could possibly do, especially if they get T. Higgins back as well. So for that, I'm actually going to pick the Bengals to beat the Dolphins. Then we head to Carolina, and where the Panthers are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one's a really interesting one. I feel like, you know, the Panthers coming off that loss to the Saints, they have a bit more, you know, fuel in the fire, I guess. And even for the Bucs, I mean, they're just hoping that everyone could get healthy again. That's what really the Bucs are hoping right now. And it looks like they're going to try and involve Jalen McMillan a bit more in their offense. That's what I've been reading online. So we'll see actually what that does, because usually when they say that, that doesn't really happen. But nonetheless, I feel like, you know, with the Bucs getting a bit healthier every single week, I've mentioned that also every single week, but they're getting healthier as the season comes to a close. I feel like that'll be a big boost for them, especially going up against this Panthers team, who might put up a fight, but I don't think it'll be enough of a fight to beat the Bucs. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay to beat the Carolina Panthers. I mentioned the Saints a few moments ago, and now I will talk about the Saints because they are taking on the New York Jets. Now, the Saints, obviously, you know, how many times have I picked them this year to win a game? I don't really know, to be honest. But if there's a match that they will win, I believe it will be this one, because they are going up against the New York Jets, who, I mean, it's almost like I don't even know what to say about these two teams, to be honest. I really do not know what to say about these two teams because they've just had such horrible seasons. There's no positives to talk about. There's no negatives to talk about. The only positive, I guess, is talking about the Saints win last week, but that was last week. We're talking about this week. So I have to, like I said, just go with what I said earlier, and I got to take the Saints. There's no reason to take the Jets for this one. So coming off a high of a win, I believe that the Saints will win again this week. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills. They are in Cleveland, and they are taking on the Browns. The Bills had a fantastic win last week over the Patriots, and they're going to want to continue that momentum into Cleveland this week. Now, going up against tough O-lines, the Bills sometimes have trouble with that, but seeing how they have played the last couple of weeks, I don't even think that that's possible, to be honest. I don't think that the Browns O-line will, or the Browns D-line, will get to the Bills O-line. I feel like this is going to be a really big game yet again for Josh Allen, and again for the Bills offense. Defensively as well is going to be a massive game. We already know, you know, how the Bills have done against terrible offenses. We've seen it the last couple of weeks. Heading into this one, so I expect another big game as well for the Bills defense, as well as an offense. So if you couldn't tell, I'm taking the Bills in this one, because what am I going to talk about the Browns for? And then to end off the 1 o'clock window, we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, this game would be all Chiefs if Pat Mahomes was playing, but sadly we lost Pat Mahomes for the remainder of the year with his ACL injury. Terrible injury to see, you know, so late in the year, especially for a team that was eyeing for a playoff position, and now it's just kind of flushed down the toilet. Now we will see Gardner Minshew, who has, you know, quarterback experience in the NFL, taking the start for the Chiefs. So how will he do? We'll have to wait and see and find out. The funny thing is, as I mentioned, this game's all Chiefs if Pat Mahomes is playing. And to be honest, even if he is or isn't, I feel like this game would still be Chiefs. They're going up against the Titans. And we know how the Titans have played this year. We know who the Titans are this year. They are not very good. And for that, I'm going to be taking the Chiefs to beat the Titans. So now we go to the 4 o'clock window, and we start with a massive game for the Jacksonville Jaguars as they are in Denver taking on the Broncos. The Broncos surprised me last week with yet another victory over a top team in the Green Bay Packers. I kind of expect it to be the same this week against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have been playing fantastic the last couple of weeks. Trevor Lawrence was a part of 6 touchdowns last week. 6 touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence last week, which is absolutely incredible. I don't think that will be happening this time around. The Denver defense has just been stellar all season long, and I expect them to play just as good this week against the Jags. And for the Broncos offense, even with losing a key piece like J.K. Dobbins this season, they have still just proven that they are still playoff ready. And for Bo Nix, it's going to be another big game for him. I feel like it's going to be a much easier task for him this week compared to last week against the Packers. So I'm sorry, T-Law and the Jags fans. I know you guys have been on the roll, but the Broncos have been as well. And they're being at home. I have to take them. So for that, I'm going to be taking the Broncos to take down the Jags. Then we head to Arizona, where the Cardinals are hosting the Atlanta Falcons yet again. I mean, I talk about the Cardinals every single week. They're almost like they're in games, but they are not in games because their defense is just so horrible. And I expect the Falcons to take full control of that this week and absolutely dominate offensively. And I feel like for this week, the Falcons, even though I think their offense is going to go to work, I feel like as well the Cardinals offense will also go to work, playing the Falcons. I don't know really what to expect here, but just going off of, how each team has played this season, I've got to go with the Falcons here just because they seem a whole lot better. And, Kirk Cousins starting at quarterback, he's been all right. So I got to be going with the Falcons. Next up, we have the Houston, where the Texans are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. Do I have to even say anything about this game? I don't even know. I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders, they've been the Raiders all season long. We know how they've played. And I don't think there's much good to say about their season, so I'm just going to kind of keep it quiet. But for the Texans, it's yet another big game for them as they're eyeing a playoff spot, and I think this is massive for them in their schedule, facing a team like the Raiders. This is definitely going to be a victory for them, and it's going to be massive for them for the next couple of weeks as they try to get into the playoffs. And they've just been on a roll as of late. C.J. Stroud has played really, really well the last couple of weeks, so I expect more from him this week against a Raiders team. So I am taking the Texans to beat the Raiders here on Sunday. And finally, to end off our 4 o'clock window on Sunday, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers in Detroit taking on the Lions. I mean, this is yet another big game for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they are trying to clinch that divisional spot for the playoffs, especially with the Ravens kind of right behind them. For the Lions, it's also really big because they are trying to also get into a playoff spot as a wild card team, considering that whole division's kind of all clumped up like this. So I expect another big game from Jared Goff and the Lions. What to expect? I feel like this is going to be a strong defensive game. I mean, both teams have very good defenses. I feel like, though, it's going to come down to whose offense is just that stronger, and I feel like it has to go to the Lions, especially for them to be at home. This is a big game for them. They know what to do in this situation, and for that, I'm going to be picking the Lions to beat the Steelers. So then we go to Sunday Night Football, and we got another massive game for Sunday Night Football, and it is the Baltimore Ravens hosting the New England Patriots, who lost last week to the Buffalo Bills. What a crazy game that was. I remember I was watching it, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. A Bills comeback, that's going to hurt for the Patriots. But I think that's just going to fuel them here for this game on Sunday night, going up against a Baltimore team that is hanging by a thread to get into the postseason. So you know what type of game that we're going to be expecting from the Ravens. But to be honest, judging how the Pats have played this season, I've been surprised about how they have played. Now, I know that their schedule, was a bit easier midway through the season there, but as they've kind of come out of that, they're playing tough opponents and they've been playing very, very well. And I expect the same, to be honest, this week against the Ravens, who have a very, very strong defense. And they're going to have to go up against that offense with, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers played all right last week as well. So you're going to have to go up against that. And I feel like they're going to come out on top. I just feel like they're the better team, stronger team. They're in a better position. I'm taking the Pats to win on Sunday Night Football. And then we go to Monday night, in which we have a crazy game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Indianapolis Colts. Phillip Rivers actually played all right last week. I know the Colts lost their game, but he actually played a lot better than I think a lot of us were expecting Phillip Rivers to play. And he's going to get the start yet again this week against the 49ers. Maybe a bit more of a tougher opponent, though. That's what I'll say for sure. I mean, the 49ers, have played very, very well. They have been playing very, very well. And I feel like, yet again, this is a big game for them. Luckily for them, they probably don't have to go with such a strong offense as the Colts were at the start of the year. Defensively as well, they're banged up. So I feel like this is looking a lot towards the 49ers. And I feel like the 49ers defense is salivating to get to Phillip Rivers and sack him every single play, because they know that he's not that mobile. And if they're able to get to him, oh boy, watch out. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monday Night Football winner for Week 16 will be the San Francisco 49ers, plain and simple. So there you have it, everyone. Those are my selections for Week 16 of the NFL season. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, whether you liked my picks, whether you didn't. Heck, even drop your own picks down below as well. Also, leave a like on the video if you have not yet, and subscribe to the Zucc TV YouTube channel. And also click that bell to be notified of when I post these next, because there's only a few more weeks left in the NFL season, and I'll be doing a video for every single one. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy Week 16 of the NFL season. Peace.